Well, folks, you can always count on some really good political ads at this time of the season. Lincoln Project, you know, those folks are damn good. Check out this new ad that they dropped.
A second term for Donald Trump. What will it look like? Secretary of State Jared Kushner.
Jared Kushner and Ivanka Kushner walk out of the White House and months later get $2 billion from the Saudis.
Homeland Security Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
Justice Department Alina Habba.
This is where your taxpaying dollars are going, America.
FBI Director Jim Jordan.
That's as radical as you can get.
White House Press Secretary Laura Loomer.
Trespassing Nancy Pelosi's private residence.
Give me some money to fund my lawsuits.
HHS Secretary Matt Gaetz.
The House Ethics Committee has released a statement into a number of serious allegations, including sexual misconduct.
Elon Musk for whatever he wants.
Go yourself.
No wonder Trump says,
you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Well, I say no lies told on that one. I came across this video. If y'all want to, if you want to see a video that lays out how anti-black Donald Trump is, watch this.
Black Lives Matter. There are a lot of thugs.
I love the old days. You know what they used to do to guys like that? They'd be carried out on a stretcher.
The president approvingly retweeted this video of one of his supporters.
A horrific scene in Charlottesville, Virginia, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence and chaos.
I think there's blame on both sides. Very fine people on both sides.
He has pulled one of the great cons in the history of politics.
He could have been born in Kenya.
A lot of people do not think it was an authentic certificate.
I'm starting to wonder myself whether or not he was born in this country.
I was the one that got him to produce the birth certificate. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black. I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln.
Donald Trump, he's made it clear throughout his life that he believes black people are inferior.
The Department of Justice accused the Trumps of violating the Fair Housing Act, arguing they were turning away renters based on race and color.
Donald Trump took out $85,000 in ads in the New York City newspapers calling for the execution of minors who at that point had not even gone to trial.
I hate these people, and let's all hate these people.
He has said on multiple occasions that he doesn't want black people involved in the counting of his money or involved in the running of his world.
He is a tried and true, dyed-in-the-wool racist.
In Trump's head, you can't be a person of color and an American.
I would do stop and frisk.
A violent confrontation on a New York City street that ends with one man, a black man, dead.
He just took me out the car, searched the car, asked where are the guns, where are the weapons and the drugs.
This is my license. I'm a pharmacist, right? But I get stopped all the fucking time. And because of that, I have to show this.
Stop and frisk. Very simple. You stop them and you frisk them.
President Trump plans to sign an executive order that will reverse an Obama-era policy which currently restricts local police from getting military-style guns and equipment.
Hands up, don't shoot! Hands up! Go! Go!
Why are African Americans still dying at the hands of law enforcement in this country?
And so are white people. So are white people. What a terrible question to ask. Wages too high. We have to leave it the way it is.
I worked at fast food for over 30 years, and I had to support my kids off of that money. Minimum wage is still $7.25.
It's rough. Gotta work 2-3 jobs just to make ends meet. You have to decide whether you're going to eat or pay your bills.
Look at how well the black community has been doing under this administration.
Efforts
efforts to save small business from the impacts of the pandemic have largely missed black-owned companies.
When I applied for the PPP, we didn't get any help.
The big companies, they didn't have to wait. They got their money. They started spending it immediately. People like me were still waiting.
Great for small businesses, great for the workers.
The Trump administration has done more to shape the courts in just one term than any other president in recent history.
Trump has confirmed 203 federal judges, and of that number, 8 have been black.
Trump judges have suspended affirmative action programs like the Fearless Funds grant for black women in tech, ruled against plaintiffs in housing discrimination cases, supported racially gerrymandered voting maps, blocked the EPA from enforcing environmental justice regulations, leaving communities like Cancer Alley in Louisiana without any protections.
Cancer Alley, the stakeholders are 92% black.
It's black people who are suffering the brunt of all the ill effects of this petrochemical industry. We don't benefit anything from it.
We are the sacrifice zone.
The vote. You should go into Detroit, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and you should go into some of these places, and we got to watch those votes.
Donald Trump said there was rampant fraud. He didn't say it was happening everywhere. He said it's happening in Detroit, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Fulton County, Georgia, Maricopa County, Arizona, Harris County, Texas, large urban centers with large populations of color. The thing that rhetoric is being used to justify are racially discriminatory voting policies, policies that make it harder for voters of color to vote.
There is a definite anti-white feeling in the country right now. That's what he said. You know, nobody in your family was hung. Nobody in your family was chased because of the color of their skin. How dare you? There's no anti-white issue here. You are perpetrating anti-humanist issues here.
You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs.
I got indicted a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time. That's why the black people like me. We've all seen the mugshot. And you know who embraced it more than anybody else? The black population. I'm being indicted for you, the black population. Kamala, they always say Kamala. And all of a sudden, she made a turn, and she became a black.
Would you rather have the black president or the white president? I think they want the white guy. Look at my African-American over here. Look at him.
Racism. The least racist.
I am the least racist person there is anywhere in the world.
My favorite color is black.
That was pretty damn good, Yolanda.
You know, I'm real irritated right now. I'm real irritated. I'm choosing my words carefully. The thing that I don't understand is why anybody black could support this man. Literally every negative attribute that anybody has, he gives to us. He literally says that we like him because we appreciate that he was charged with a crime like us. Mm-hmm. As a person who's never been in trouble with the law and who tries to get black folks out of the claws of an unfair, unjust criminal justice system, I'm offended. He targets, and I didn't find it coincidental at all, that he targeted black cities in the majority of the swing states because he wants to try to steal this election any way that he can by sowing distrust and mistrust in the system. And he just says things and people, well, his sycophants just believe him, which terrifies me. And that's why I know that we as black people have got to take it real personal that he's coming for us. And let me be clear. I'm tired of people saying he's targeting people of color. The people of color that get the most negatively affected is us, black people. And we as black people have to own our blackness, and we have to own the fight against us And we have to stop, at least in this instance, from trying to bring everybody along, because everybody's fighting for themselves. And we need to fight for us, because we cannot take care of other people before we take care of ourselves. And we have got to stop this man. And that's why we need to elect Kamala Harris as president of the United States, because a Justice Department under her can go after all of these unfair laws that they're enacting in these states that are violating the Constitution. That's what people don't understand. You showed all the Republican judges that have literally undid our civil rights gains.
Right.
And we need to have a president who is going to put people on the bench who can undo that. Because the one thing I've not seen in all the time that I've been practicing law, which next year will be 30 years, normally there was established law, and the judges respected that. These Trump judges don't give a freaking you know what, and they will undo it, and they're taking us back. So this is serious. This is a serious matter.
Michael, the thing here is when we talk about why these videos are important, because again, social media has totally changed. Not all everything can be done in 30 and 60 seconds. And so that video there was about a 7-minute video. Y'all get me the name of the group that did it so I can pull them up. I mean, that's important because it puts it all in one place, how anti-black this man is. And when you got these black maggots running around touting Trump and lying about what he's done for black people, that stuff is important.
Absolutely, and the black maggots are what one of my teachers, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, would refer to as a PWAK. That's a professional white ass kisser, because that's exactly what they are. Now, the good thing about this video, more importantly than what Trump said, is the policies he actually put in place. I've talked about it here on this show before. September 2020, Donald Trump did an executive order when he was president that banned the use of critical race theory in training for federal employees. That's really where the anti-critical race theory movement started. That's 6 months before white conservative activist Christopher Rufo did his series of tweets in March 2021 attacking what he called critical race theory and redefining critical race theory. Then you look at the school boards, right, and how Stephen K. Bannon, who served in the Trump administration as a senior advisor, Stephen K. Bannon on one of his podcasts said that the way to political power in the country today is through the local school board. So we saw Moms for Liberty. We saw these right-wing initiatives to take over school boards. Donald Trump attacked the 1619 Project after he did his executive order in September 2020. And we saw this huge backlash from the right wing against the 1619 Project and Nicole Hannah-Jones. Also, Donald Trump nominated 2 attorney generals who were against criminal justice reform. So whatever Donald Trump wants to claim about the criminal justice reform that he did with Hakeem Jeffries' bill, okay, Jeff Sessions and William Barr were against criminal justice reform, and one of the first things that Attorney General Jeff Sessions did was he reversed Eric Holder's initiative on Smart on Crime, and he backed off of not charging low-level nonviolent offenders with the longest, harshest sentences. And he also backed off of police. He said he stopped the investigations into the patterns and practices of police departments, and he said we need to take a hands-off approach to policing as well. So we can look at the policies that Donald Trump implemented as well, and how anti-black they were.
Well, you know,
he has to be stopped.
I got you, Matt. That was a guy. Some dude sent me an email, and he was just touting about, in the hood, folks had money in their pockets when Trump was president, and all this sort of stuff. And I've heard that crap from so many other different people. And I sit here and go, y'all still have no idea what the hell y'all talking about. And I said, if there's any black person or any non-black person out there who thinks stimulus checks are going to be raining down on America, especially in the hood, if Trump is there, you are out of your damn mind, because guess what? That ain't happening. The stimulus, that was a once in 100-year pandemic, and it is not happening again. And I'm like, y'all might want to wake the hell up.
Yeah, and it's something that he demanded to put his name on so he could take credit for that once-in-a-lifetime situation where they had to send those stimulus checks. But look, here's the reality. I think Jolanda hit the nail on the head. He uses us as the vehicle to get all of his hate out and talking about any negative attribute. I mean, that's what I think is so powerful about that video. The fact that you see all those things strung together. So anybody who's trying to defend Mr. Trump and his virulent racism against black people cannot get out of the fact that they're not one-offs. And this started back when the exonerated 5 were coming up for trial. I mean, if you take out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the death penalty of teenagers, I mean, you're per se hateful. And that has persisted throughout his life and in his service or alleged service to the country. So it's obvious that, you know, he hates black people, and that's very clear in so many things that he says and that he does. And just the idea that we have allowed a lot of this to be normalized from him and we continue talking about it rather than just calling him out and saying you are a straight up racist as we have is so problematic to me in the way that it's just become such a part of what we allow in politics in a way that it would not have been allowed even 15, 20 years ago for somebody to say the incendiary things that he said. As a matter of fact, if you saw in that video, he said he doesn't want his money counted by a black person. He wants his money counted by a short person who wears yarmulkes. You know what that means? That's a comment to Jewish people, right? And that's the kind of thing you say when you do not have any regard for other people's humanity. And moreover, you are used to just going around saying whatever you want, no matter how hateful. And it's extraordinary to me that we are continuing to talk about the prospect of a second presidency from a known buffoon, a hateful buffoon at that. The fact that there is a large contingent of this country who is considering voting for him is not only scary to put him back in office, but it's scary because there are people walking around espousing the exact ideology that he does who don't say it as loud and with their chest like he does. And that is what makes this so dangerous. Right. We've seen that in this country. He has fomented a lot of that latent, you know, anti-black, anti-anything other than white sentiment that people have had, and he's brought it to the forefront, and that's why a lot of people have supported him, because he's so openly racist, and he gives them license to be the same.
So the other day, former Congresswoman Liz Cheney announced she was going to be, of course, endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris. Now her daddy is doing the same. Yeah, hardcore Republican conservative Dick Cheney issued this statement. He said, in our nation's 248-year history, there's never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He can never be trusted with power again. As citizens, we each have a duty to put country above partisanship to defend our Constitution. That is why I will be casting my vote for Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, keep in mind, when his daughter was running for re-election, Donald Trump was hardcore against her. And Dick Cheney dropped this ad, which is very similar to what we just read. Watch this.
In our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He is a coward. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. He lost his election, and he lost big. I know it, he knows it, and deep down, I think most Republicans know it. Lynn and I are so proud of Liz for standing up for the truth, doing what's right, honoring her oath to the Constitution, when so many in our party are too scared to do so. Liz is fearless. She never backs down from a fight. There is nothing more important she will ever do than lead the effort to make sure Donald Trump is never again near the Oval Office. And she will succeed. I am Dick Cheney. I proudly voted for my daughter. I hope you will too.
I'm Liz Cheney, and I approve this message.
Now, that ad dropped there. And listen, this has been one of my biggest criticisms with a lot of these Republicans. They don't care about they don't care about morals, values, principles, or ethics. Michael, they care about power. I was playing golf the other day. White guy, maybe in the 50s and 60s. politics came up. He said, well, you're not likely on different sides. First of all, I don't know how in the hell, I guess he just assumed I was voting for Vice President Kamala Harris. But, okay, guess what? I damn sure am. Then he goes, well, yeah, Trump, he goes, I'm voting for the policies, not the man. The man is just horrible. And I'm looking at him going, I said, yeah, he is horrible. He is very despicable. But that's what they do. And so you see right there with Dick Cheney. Again, this man's nickname was Darth Vader by the left. This man, hardcore Republican, and he understands you cannot let that man anywhere near the Oval Office. But these Republicans, they don't care. They want to be in power. And this is why I keep telling people we can't play games. We can't assume. We got to sit here and understand. You got to run through the tape and completely eviscerate this man and the MAGAs that support him at the ballot box.
Absolutely. And two quick points. Number one, the guy that you were talking about, when somebody says they support his policies, not the man, my question to them would be, well, what's the policy? What policies do you support? Because his policies overwhelmingly are negative and harmful to America. And if he thinks that Trump's policies will be good for the economy, his tariffs are going to cause a recession. Okay, and there's been analysis on that from Moody's as well as Penn Wharton. But also today, a group of 88 high-profile current and former business executives issued a joint letter endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris, and they're saying that her policies will be better for the economy. We just saw in that video in the ad, Dick Cheney talked about how Donald Trump lost the election, and he knows he lost the election. Well, Trump just admitted this week in the podcast on Tuesday that he lost the election in 2020, and he said he lost it by a whisker, quote unquote, by a whisker. Now, white supremacist Nick Fuentes is asking, well, quote, so why did we stop the steal? Why did anyone go to January 6th? Why did anyone go to jail? So it's like now you got white supremacists, at least one, Nick Fuentes, questioning, well, wait a second, what do we do all that for? Why these people all get arrested if you knew that you lost the election? This is going to blow up in his face. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse, and this man has to be stopped, period. He can never get back in the White House.
Got it. Matt?
I don't really have too much to add beyond, he can't be back in the White House. And if you have Dick Cheney saying that, there's a real existential threat. It's clear. There have been so many sound bites and so many things. I don't need to run over all of them. But I'll tell you the one that has really stuck in my craw, if you will, is the one about you do not need to vote again. We're going to fix it so you don't need to vote again. Those are the things that I have been expecting, that I expect from another Trump term, that he is really going to try to be dictatorial. And I think one of the first things they're going to do is try to repeal the constitutional amendment that limits somebody to serving 2 years as the president. And I don't think any of those things are histrionics or far-fetched. I think the more you say those kinds of things and you normalize that and you cozy yourself up to dictators, I think we as Americans will see somebody who will be a full-on dictator if he's reelected.
Yolanda?
And so I agree. You hit the nail on the head. You actually took a lot of the points that I was going to say, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to say this. So first of all, the beautiful thing about Donald Trump is he's so arrogant, he tells us what the hell he going to do. Right? Mm-hmm. So he done told us, he done told us we ain't gonna have to vote no more. That means he's going to steal elections, or he's just not gonna have them. He's literally put people on the Supreme Court who are going to rubber stamp all of his ideologies. So everything that we think the Constitution stands for and all the things that we fought to have the Constitution protect us from, we're no longer gonna have. It's gonna be appealed all the way up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court is going to undo settled law. And they're going to create the Constitution that allows racist white people to stay in power. That is what they're going to do. It's going to be open season on shooting us. So the little progress we made where some police officers are actually held accountable for shooting and killing us when we caught them on tape and they lied and we were unarmed, all that stuff is going to go away. It's going to go back to the time with Emmett Till and before that. Y'all think I'm playing? Keep on and don't vote. This election matters. We're not going to have access to housing. They're going to be redlining crazily. The Justice Department will not be going in and having the power to protect us because the Supreme Court is going to undo what they say if he's president.
Got it.
They are literally going to destroy public education where we cannot get jobs, we cannot move forward, and that is how it's going to be. So 1
second. So talking to the Economic Club of New York the other day, y'all, if y'all want to see how stupid this man is, just watch this here. The question dealt with the issue of childcare. Roll it.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. You know, I was somebody, we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that, because, look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country, because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars, and as much as child care is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in. We're going to make this into an incredible country that can afford to take care of its people, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world. Let's help other people. But we're going to take care of our country first. This is about America first. It's about make America great again. We have to do it because right now we're a failing nation. So we'll take care of it. Thank you. Very good question. Thank you.
Did he answer the question?
I had somebody who gave to the show the other day, and they said, "Roland, could you please stop cussing?" And I've severely limited when I cuss. Reese has it. But what the fuck was he talking about? And what the fuck were these people there clapping for? They literally, what? Because he said, make America great again? He gave the most bullshit answer to child care. Didn't even answer the question. Oh, I got tariffs, and we're going to make lots of money, and we're going to, we're tired of paying for stuff. And for 23 days, the media shitted on Joe Biden, talking about his answers, how old he was, and he was confused, and every day, Democrats, he got to get out of the race. This dumbass stood there and said some of the dumbest shit I have ever heard. And if y'all think it's just his dumbass, listen to his dumbass running mate, J.D. Vance.
It's such an important question, Charlie. And I think one of the things that we can do is make it easier for family models to choose, or for families to choose whatever model they want, right? So one of the ways that you might be able to relieve a little bit of pressure on people who are paying so much for daycare is make it so that maybe like grandma or grandpa wants to help out a little bit more, or maybe there's an aunt or uncle that wants to help out a little bit more. If that happens, you relieve some of the pressure on all the resources that we're spending in daycare. Now, you talk about just daycare. Let's say you don't have somebody who can provide that extra set of hands. What we've got to do is actually empower people to get trained in the skills that they need for the 21st century. We've got a lot of people who love kids, who would love to take care of kids, but they can't, either because they don't have access to the education that they need, or maybe more importantly, because the state government says you're not allowed to take care of children unless you have some ridiculous certification that has nothing to do with taking care of kids. So empower people to get the skills they need. Don't force every early child care specialist to go and get a 6-year college degree where they've got a whole lot of debt and Americans are much poorer because they're paying out the wazoo for daycare. Empower working families, empower people who want to do these things for a living, and that's what we got to do. All right.
I don't know what the fuck. I hope all y'all who think about voting for these dumbasses just heard two of the dumbest responses ever. Well, maybe grandmama and granddad, maybe they. And some of y'all actually have the audacity to question Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz when they say stuff. And this is the Republican ticket. And some of y'all literally think these two absolute ignorant dumbasses are worthy of being in the White House. And the thing that gets me is neither one of them, they probably ain't never had to pay for child care. They don't even know what the hell child care is if it doesn't involve nannies and au pairs and stuff like that. And it just, and see, Matt, this what really pisses me off. What really pisses me off are these punk-ass media outlets like the New York Times who wrote a story as if Trump gave a credible answer to the question when the woman who asked the question went on an outlet and she said that was a bullshit-ass answer. But what they're doing, again, they're framing it as, oh, Joe Biden was crazy. He was comatose. He was damn near having Parkinson's. He has dementia, Alzheimer's, and they position like this dumbass is a genius.
But Roland.
No, Jolanda. Matt.
No, I'll yield to Jolanda. Go ahead, please.
No, hold on, no. I'm going to you for a reason, because I got a question for Jolanda that's separate. Matt, go. Y'all, I got that. I know what I'm doing. Go.
Yes, sir. You're right. I don't think you're wrong. I think the media has perpetuated a lot of that. And I think he didn't say anything. And frankly, like you said, that was one of the issues that we even discussed on the show, just the fact that there was an imbalance in the coverage of that and an imbalance in the extent to which they were calling into question the candidates' mental faculties, right? With Joe Biden after the debate, that's all you heard about in the 24-hour news cycle for weeks. And Mr. Trump has continued to say things like this that make literally no sense. I mean, he sounds like one of my sons trying to stay up when I tell him to go to sleep, just saying anything. But how about this? How about that? Right? When, it's just incomprehensible. And he's not saying anything at all from a policy standpoint. And when you look at J.D. Vance, what Vance did specifically in his answer is he found a way to come in with that same anti-government rhetoric that they say don't hamper people's ability to be free. He didn't say anything that made any sense, but all he said was don't require a license and let people be more involved. And that's stupid because especially as it comes to kids, we want people to be better qualified when they're taking care of our children. So that's one, not a policy that talks about easing the burden for families. And two, all it does is invoke the anti-government rhetoric that they play on. That's why it's about sound bites and about clever little turns of phrase more so than it is deep policy. So people who are behind this are behind these archetypes. They're not behind real policy, and they're definitely not behind real leadership.
So this is what's, again, just so we know who we're dealing with here, Jolanda. 2017, Wall Street Journal does an article, they're interviewing this fool. And so Donald Trump was describing an on-site daycare at one of his companies. Go to my iPad. So, it's not expensive for a company to do it. You need one person or two people, and you need some blocks, and you need some swings and some toys. It's not an expensive thing, and I do it all over. And I get great people because of it, because it's a problem with a lot of other companies. Then he points to these other, they call them Trump kids. Another one calls it Trumpeteers, if you can believe it. I have them. I actually have them because I have a lot of different businesses. He went on to describe a room that's a quarter of the size of this, and they have all sorts of, it's beautiful. They have a lot of children there. We take care of them. And the parent, when they leave the job, usually in my case, it's clubs or hotels. When they leave the job, they pick up their child, and their child is totally safe. They come in during the day, during lunch, to see their child. It really works out well. Yolanda, they didn't exist.
Right.
They literally, these daycares, literally, he's describing a fictitious daycare. He flat out lied. And you know what these folks did? They let him go ahead and say it.
But so my mother always said, why are you surprised when white folks white? Right? Why are you surprised when white media perpetuates white negative stereotypes of us and white lunacy? Which is why you and what you do is so important, because we can check them. And we all know there are always black people that think white folks' ice is colder. And they're going to trumpet and they're going to repeat whatever white folks say. And so what we have to do, Roland, we have to speak truth to power. We need to call bullshit bullshit. We need to call a spade, and we need to point out this idiocy. With J.D. Vance, they asked him about childcare and how that they could afford, how they could make it more affordable for us, or for people with kids. And he literally didn't talk about how any certification or anything would translate into a parent actually having to pay less for their kids. So nothing they said made sense. And so what we have to do is we have to run through the finish line on November 5th. We have to point this out, but we have to explain to people, and you say this all the time, Roland, that one of these people are going to win. I'm going to say it again. One of them is going to win, so we can't stay home, and we've got to point out how racist and how anti-black he is. And I think for black people, we've got to talk about how anti-black he is, because there will be some people who will resonate with that. That's what we've got to do. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm not surprised when white folks white. I've been black all my life. And the one thing that we are created to do is overcome shit. We've overcome slavery, we've overcome Jim Crow, and we go overcome this because we know how to push through. And that's what we need to remember, and we need to keep our eye on the prize, and we need to make sure we speak truth to power. We need to call his shit, and we need to get her elected. And then a lot of our problems will be better able to be dealt with.
So the thing here, go to my iPad. Michael, this is Associated Press story. They said, again, the Wall Street Journal just ran as gospel. But again, Rupert Murdoch owns them, so they're not checking a damn thing. So the two programs Trump cited, Trump Kids and Trumpeteers, are programs catering to patrons of Trump's hotels and golf club. They are not for Trump's employees, according to staff at Trump's hotels and clubs across the country. He's a liar. Housekeeper at Trump International Las Vegas. No, there's no child care. He's a liar. He's a flat-out liar. Something happened to Michael's signal, but that's what it is. Folks, that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a massive liar. And you got people who support this massive liar, and that's what they constantly do. They support liars.
Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, so you can register for this full 12-week online history course. And I'm getting ready to, as soon as I finish this broadcast, we're going to jump in the class in my online school and start teaching class number 1. So these classes will be on Saturdays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're running a little behind schedule today, so I had to get everything set up. But go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, scroll down the page. You'll see the second class that I teach, Black Resistance Movements, Christopher Columbus, the Haitian Revolution, and Black Power Movement, 1492 to 1968. We do that on Sundays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So click right here to register for the second course. You can register for the course bundle for both classes on sale for $120. Click right here to register for the course bundle. This content is PG-13, so you can use this with your children also. I don't do a lot of cursing. It's nothing like that. It's a very visual class. So we have 200 slides in the PowerPoint presentation, video clips that we look at, book references, 80 to 100 articles, and then we have class number 1 of Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade. Click right here to register for that. And the class lesson plan is here for the full course. You can download the class lesson plan. Okay, so there's a ton of information that we cover in this class. I'm just giving you a brief overview. Okay, so have you all learned anything so far? How do you all like this type of information? And who still needs to register for this class? So when we scroll down, we look at some of the other content that we'll cover. We'll look at archaeological discoveries that keep causing the scientists and archaeologists and paleontologists to push the timelines back. And these are archaeological discoveries that show an African presence in parts of the world earlier than people thought. Okay, so there was one good article, Recap Humans Are 100,000 Years Older Than We Thought. This is from the New York Post. We'll look at the lost city. There were 2 lost cities of Egypt. One, dazzling Aten, which was discovered a few years ago, but then also Tanis Heraklion, which was discovered about 2013.